Liverpool taking on Manchester City, first against second in the Premier League table, just a point separating them, but look how tight it is with the teams from second through to sixth, all level on 13 points. Anyway, City are favourites with the odds makers in this one, even though Liverpool are at home and even though the fans are going to be there too at Anfield. Nedum Onuoha joining us as well to discuss this game, but Stevie, I'll start with you. Are you surprised that City are favourites?
Yes. Liverpool are top of the Premier League. Liverpool are top of their group in Europe. City are second in Premier League and City are second in their group in Europe. What? I can't figure out why they would be favourites. Liverpool are at home as well. Had this game been at City, then maybe I could have understood it. But it doesn't make any sense. You know, yes, I think the sides are very close. It's tough to separate them. Because you could talk all day about the qualities of both of them and the reasons why they would both win. So, yeah, I'm surprised they're favourites.
So, Man City, who romped the league last year, yeah?
Yep.
Man City, who you've got winning the league this year in your prediction? Have you?
What's that got to do with what's happened at the start of this year?
Oh, I'm just suggesting.
Well, that's what I said. You could sit here and make an argument for both sides why they should win. But for the reasons I pointed out, I don't understand why City are favourites.
I mean, the 4-1 win last season might go in their favour.
But it doesn't affect this game. You know, if you look at what's happened from the start of this season, that surely is how you should be basing your opinion on what's going to happen in this game. Listen, if Man City had beat Liverpool 10-0 last year, does that mean that they should be favourites?
Well, Klopp said the momentum will not matter, that the momentum that they have will not matter against City.
Well, because he's trying to deflect from trying to make City favourites. He's more than happy to push that City may be favourites, because it's dead easy. If you're a coach, you go, by the way, every single person, bookmaker, you name it, has written you off and said that City are favourites. That's just another way of motivating his team.
I mean, Liverpool have started the season decent, but I would hardly say losing 3 goals in a draw at Brentford is carrying great momentum. I think the only thing for me from City's perspective is look, they played well with the ball in Paris, but lost the game, and they had some chances, but they lacked a clinical edge to the game, and they lost a couple of goals, some poor marking. And but they did come off a dominating game at Stamford Bridge the week before, or a few days before. But the big issue is in this team selection, and we don't know how he's going to play, because he keeps chopping and changing, particularly this front line, is Liverpool have been a little fragile defensively, a little. But City have been frustrating in terms of their attacking game. Yeah, they beat Arsenal by 5, yeah, they beat Norwich, blah, blah, blah. But because of that lack of natural striker, it just feels at times that all their good play, Man City, they're not getting their just rewards for it. And that could effectively be the difference in this game.
Yep. Do you agree with Craig there, Nedum?
Possibly, but then another side of City, which is sort of going under the radar this year, is the fact they've only conceded 1 goal. I think defensively they do look good, and that seems to be the springboard for them, as was the case last year, when they seemed to turn their fortunes around. But they've got so many players on the field who are capable of scoring. But to go back to the original point about City being favourites, I don't get that either. And the reason I don't get it is because City have no successful history as such. At Anfield, they won last year without the fan base being there, but before that, the last time was 2003. And when you think about some of the City sides that have been there and failed to get a result, it just doesn't quite feel right. And it seems in some ways a little bit of an overreaction based on the performance that they had against Chelsea last week, where they entered that game as slight underdogs, as crazy as that may be, but going to Anfield and Man City, so it's a totally different affair. I think, as you can see there, the teams maybe trade off results when it's home and away and so on, but Anfield is Liverpool's spot. If Klopp can sort of make the players feel like they're underdogs, it riles them up, he gets the fans going, and they tend to perform really well against City there, so I don't quite get that, but it should make for a good game. And I think for City, the key difference is, based on the way they played against Chelsea and PSG, they were 2 sides where they insist upon building out from the back and going through midfield in a certain manner. But in Liverpool, if that's not working, they can be more direct, and I think that's going to be the big test for City, and it should make for a great game.
I think they, just to go off that point, I know what Nedum's saying, and I think that's a league goals against, but they have lost 5 in the 2 Champions League games, 3 against Leipzig and 2 in Paris, and I think their fixture list has slightly skewed their domestic defensive stats so far, because yeah, they did keep a clean sheet at Chelsea when they completely dominated the game, but then Arsenal at home, Arsenal were absolutely shambolic at that point. Norwich are cannon fodder, as we know, and Southampton. And so that defence, which hasn't really seen John Stones in it, hasn't really been tested domestically, but it has been in Europe to some extent, and they have lost goals.
So you got that. Now, in my opinion, Emirates Laporte, they may have only lost 1 goal domestically, but I don't know why, because I don't particularly rate him. I don't think he's a smart defender. I think he makes bad choices. And all you had to do was watch the game against Chelsea. Yes, Man City won the game. Yes, they dominated. But he was trying to play against Lukaku by trying to fight him. That's not a smart football player. You don't go and fight the giant. You don't fight the giant because there's only going to be one winner. And I think he made a bad decision against PSG. He should have gone out and closed the ball for the first goal, and he didn't. I think if you look at that defensively, and you also look going forward, I hope Raheem Sterling plays. Because Raheem Sterling, when there's been a crowd at Anfield, has never kicked a ball. Last year, he was probably man of the match, but it was an Anfield that had nobody there. This guy, when he goes to Anfield, bottles it. Can't perform, can't play, and hasn't yet played.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.